Well, welcome to the 700 Club. 40,000 troops killed, wounded, captured, or missing. NATO estimates that 1/5 of the Russian forces that invaded Ukraine 1 month ago are now off the battlefield.
Well, the alliance is worried that a frustrated Vladimir Putin will resort to chemical, biological, or even nuclear weapons. President Biden is meeting with European leaders in Brussels today, calling on them to increase the economic pressure on Russia. Heather Sells reports.
NATO now estimates heavy Russian losses, as much as 20% of the forces that it sent to Ukraine. There is grave concern that a deeply frustrated President Putin is preparing for what was once unthinkable: chemical, biological, even nuclear warfare. It is why President Biden is rallying European allies.
For the past few months, the West has been united. The president is traveling to Europe to ensure we stay united.
NATO has announced it will double its military presence near Ukraine. So far, however, Europe has balked at an embargo on Russian oil and gas. Biden is hoping to change that. On Wednesday, the State Department formally accused Russia of war crimes in Ukraine.
Russia's forces have destroyed apartment buildings, schools, hospitals, other elements of the critical civilian infrastructure.
In Mariupol, 100,000 people remain trapped as the Russians bombard them. This video from a right-wing paramilitary group in the Ukrainian National Guard shows the port city's devastation. Today marks 1 month since Russia unleashed its invasion into Ukraine. The mayor of Kyiv says more than 260 have died.
I am very appreciative and huge respect for every Ukrainian fighters.
The Pentagon says the Ukrainians have pushed Russian forces back 34 miles outside of Kyiv. A U.S. defense official says it appears Russian forces are now prioritizing Luhansk and Donetsk in the eastern Donbass region to cut off Ukrainian troops and prevent them from moving west. President Zelensky will meet with NATO leaders in a closed-door meeting today as he calls on the world to rally.
Come with Ukrainian symbols to support Ukraine, to support freedom.
On Friday, President Biden travels to Poland, which has opened its arms to more than 2 million Ukrainian refugees. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Well, the unthinkable, more than a month ago, it was unthinkable that Ukraine even stood a chance, that the war would be over very quickly, Russia would dominate the skies, and the Ukrainian forces wouldn't be able to withstand the sheer onslaught of the Russian military. But here we are, and it's actually now a David and Goliath story where David could actually win this war. But in that process, what's going to be the cost for the civilian population as Russia more and more turns to devastation as their war tactic, that they want to completely destroy neighborhoods and cities. They want to extract some kind of odd revenge. If they're trying to take over Ukraine, this is a very unusual way to do it. And the human cost is absolutely astounding. More than half of the refugees who have escaped Ukraine are children. One young woman described her journey to Poland and the warm welcome and support her family received from you through Operation Blessing. Take a look.
As Operation Blessing continues work on the ground at the Medica border in Poland, we're meeting many refugees with stories of hardship.
We are from Ukraine. We live in the Kharkiv region. We prayed to get here safely, so we are happy that we crossed the border really quickly. There is shooting in Kharkiv right now. We had to get out of there so the children would be safe.
The journey from Ukraine into Poland is dangerous for multiple reasons, including freezing temperatures. Often, families are stuck waiting in the cold for an available train.
There were a lot of people, so many people. We waited for hours at the train station in Lazavoy. Finally, someone saw that we have a little baby.
After refugees arrive in Poland, Operation Blessing provides a place where families can recover from their journey. We're providing warmth, comfort, food, and someone to talk to as families figure out their next steps.
I want everything to be good in Ukraine. I want to go back home. He does too. And I hope that we will go back and we will see our country in a good condition, and that I will see my grandmother, my parents, and my sisters.
Thanks to Operation Blessing donors, families like these are receiving the help they so desperately need.
I am very grateful to everyone, to every country that supports us. And first of all, I'm thankful to you that you sheltered us here and gave us so many things so we will not suffer. We are very grateful.
Well, right now, those refugees are staying in tents, and we're there in your name, supplying them with the food, the water, the heaters that they need just to survive. These are obviously very primitive conditions, but it's much better than just being on your own outside with no shelter, no warmth, no food, no water. We're there, and we're there in your name. If you want to be a part of this relief effort, all you have to do is pick up the phone and call us and say, yes, I want to help. I want to provide food. I want to provide water. I want to provide the things that these refugees so desperately need. We're located, the main center is located on the Polish side of the border. That's where we're receiving all these refugees. As long as we can, we're also shipping relief goods inside Ukraine, even into the battle zones. We're using all the wonderful Orphan Promise centers that are throughout Ukraine. There's a map showing all of them that have been mobilized to help with the refugees. And those who have been displaced, which is a whole nother community that aren't able to make it to the border, but they can't live in their homes anymore. So we want to be there. We want to be there and help them, and we're doing it in your name when you give. So if that's you, give us a call, 1-800-700-7000. You can also write to us at CBN Center, Virginia Beach, Virginia, 23463. Just put put Disaster Relief Fund on the memo line of your check. You can text OB Crisis to 71777, or you can go to cbn.com. There's a place on the giving page where you can designate your gift to the Disaster Relief Fund. Do it now. Be a part of the solution. 1-800-700-7000. In other news, President Biden's nominee to the Supreme Court faced a final round of questions yesterday. John Jessup has more on that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
Thanks, Gordon. Ketanji Brown Jackson fielded questions on religious liberty and accusations of being soft on crime. However, it's an exchange that took place in an earlier hearing that's gained traction. CBN's Caitlin Burke reports.
A similar line of questioning from Republicans Wednesday again led to Judge Jackson defending her record and fending off criticism that she's too soft on crime and child predators. She also spoke on freedom of religion.
Do you agree with me that it's important to accommodate the sincerely held religious beliefs of all Americans?
Religious freedom is a core foundational constitutional right.
Senator Lindsey Graham picked up where he left off Tuesday in terms of heated questions for Jackson, this time talking about sentencing guidelines for those convicted of child pornography.
We're trying to get people to stop this crap. So when you troll on the internet and you pull down thousands of images of children from the internet, I want you to stop that. I want people to go to jail who do that.
Gaining a lot of attention from her opponents is an exchange from Tuesday evening's hearing when Senator Marsha Blackburn pressed Jackson over an opinion by former Justice Ginsburg on gender issues.
Do you interpret Justice Ginsburg's meaning of men and women as male and female?
Again, because I don't know the case, I don't know how I interpret it. I need to read the whole thing.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition? No.
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
Not in this context.
So
I'm not a biologist.
The meaning of the word woman is so unclear and controversial that you can't give me a definition?
Democrats, meanwhile, focused on highlighting Brown's background and record.
From work for corporate clients during your time in private practice to your work for low-income clients during your service as a federal public defender. And during your 9 years as a federal judge, you've written nearly 600 opinions. I think that's really quite a sterling record.
You said you were the lucky first inheritor of Dr. King's civil rights legacy. I keep a daily journal. I wrote that down.
I do consider myself, having been born in 1970, to be the first generation to benefit from the civil rights movement, from the legacy of all of the work of so many people that went into changing the laws in this country so that people like me could have an opportunity to be sitting here before you today.
Next up in the confirmation process, the hearings will wrap up today with testimony from the American Bar Association and outside witnesses. Then the committee will vote on whether to advance the nomination, followed by a full Senate vote. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
Thanks, Caitlin. Turning now to the United Nations, where a report to the Human Rights Council accuses Israel of being an apartheid state. The Special Rapporteur for Human Rights in Palestinian territory submitted the report, which is to be released today. It accuses Israel of giving Jews special rights and privileges while subjecting Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank to life under permanent military rule. Israel's envoy to the United Nations says the report fails to consider threats to Israel's security and that its true aim is to delegitimize and criminalize the Jewish state. Well, Israel is a world leader in responding to international disasters, and the war in Ukraine is no different. CBN's Chris Mitchell takes us to an Israeli field hospital near the western city of Lviv, which is also teaching a lesson in forgiveness.
Ukrainian and Israeli officials dedicated the Mostiska Field Hospital, located in western Ukraine between Lviv and the Polish border.
The State of Israel mission to Ukraine today stands our unique moment in history. It effectively connects between our past Jewish life here that goes back 1,000 years and the modern Jewish state. Our mission is to make sure that Ukrainian people know they are not alone in this chaos.
This $6.5 million project is operated by Sheba Medical Center and Schneider Children's Medical Center. Ukrainians started arriving as soon as the doors opened.
I came here with my daughter. She's 2 and 8 years old and she has problems on her skin. I have very high trust in the Israel medicine, so I decided to come and check up my daughter here.
The hospital includes an emergency room, delivery room, and departments for men, women, and children. There are also imaging and laboratory capabilities with remote technology connected to Sheba Medical Center.
We're here to just give full support and partnership with the local hospital. We're like an extension of their hospital, a unit in the field. We're working closely with their doctors and their system.
Israel sent 10 tons of medicine, plus beds, equipment, and more than 60 workers. Many have Ukrainian-born parents or other relatives forced to flee or who were captured during the Holocaust.
80 years ago, my mother, Victoria Zamoyre, then a 15-year-old girl, after all her family was murdered in Belzec, fled her home not far from here on her way to freedom. Today, I, Elchanan Bar-On, stand here representing the State of Israel as part of a field hospital, lending a helping hand to anyone in need, friend or foe, because medicine has no boundaries.
In the immortal words of the legendary Rabbi Akiva, love thy neighbor as thyself.
The opening ceremony including raising both the Israeli and Ukrainian flags, singing of the national anthems, and a hope that the war would soon be over. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Thank you, Chris. We also want to mention CBN is hosting an exclusive live prayer event for Ukraine Friday, March 25th at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. You can register to join the effort at the address you see right there on your screen. Our very own 700 Club co-host Terry Musin will bring the latest on CBN's Orphans Promise and how it's helping victims of the war in Ukraine, then lead in a time of prayer. Gordon?
Well, if you want to go to that website at cbn.com, pray for Ukraine, and join with Terry as she prays over Ukraine, praying for all the Orphans Promise Centers, praying for that Orphan Promise Center director who was kidnapped on the streets. We still don't have an update of what has happened with her, but we need to pray and pray for the release. So you can join with Terry and pray for the peace of Ukraine, pray for the provision for all these refugees that are coming. and pray that the war would stop.
Amen. Prayer changes things. We're also going to have an update from people who are actually on the ground in Ukraine and on the other side, on the side of Poland, and some of what's happening there. So we'd love for you to join us.
Well, recently, a federal official gave this piece of advice. If you don't want to pay high gas prices, buy an electric car. Well, that elitist advice came from the Secretary of Transportation, and apparently he doesn't understand most Americans can't afford a new car. The spike in fuel costs has some people wondering if the Biden administration might be using the crisis to accelerate its green energy agenda. And Dale Hurd has the story.
You may have seen these stickers at gas pumps giving Joe Biden the credit for high gas prices.
This doesn't really change things, but man, it does make you feel good.
This is probably one thing for which Joe Biden doesn't want the credit. The White House blames high energy prices on the war in Ukraine. Prices began rising, however, the day Joe Biden entered the White House, with his cancellation of the Keystone XL pipeline and new moratoriums on oil and gas drilling. Critics accuse the White House of being secretly happy about record high energy prices as a way to get Americans off fossil fuels. The idea is getting so much traction, the media is calling it a conspiracy theory. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm says no, the White House is not happy about high energy prices, but does see an opportunity.
This president and this administration are looking at every single tool to shield American families from the impact of rising energy prices. And we're working through an energy transition. And we've got to start by adding energy. And the reality is we have to take some time to get off of oil and gas.
Candidate Joe Biden made no secret of his goal to end the oil and gas industry.
I guarantee you, we're going to end fossil fuel, and I am not going to cooperate with it, okay? Number one, no more subsidies for fossil fuel industry, no more drilling on federal lands, no more drilling, including offshore. No ability for the oil industry to continue to drill, period.
And in just 14 months, America has gone from being energy independent under Donald Trump to a nation dependent on foreign oil, even though it has abundant sources of energy.
We have 250 years worth of natural gas. We have 500 years worth of coal. We have 150 years worth of oil. We're not running out of it. We just need to drill for it. And that's not happening right now.
It's important to note that not everything that affects the price of gasoline is within a president's control. But everything that is within President Biden's control, he's been doing wrong. And the list is long.
Energy analyst Ben Lieberman.
There was also a major multi-agency effort on the part of the Biden administration to discourage banks from lending to oil and gas companies. That's important as well. These folks can't do these projects unless they can get the financing for them.
Despite White House rhetoric, critics say little is actually being done to bring down prices. Biden's transportation secretary says if you don't like high gas prices, you should buy a $60,000 electric car.
Clean transportation can bring significant cost savings for the American people as well.
I have never seen a politician be so cavalier about gas prices.
Steve Malloy, editor of the website junkscience.com, says Joe Biden seems to be trying to keep energy prices high.
He right now has a ban in defiance of a federal court order on new oil and gas leasing on public lands. He is doing everything he can to make oil and gas production more difficult, more expensive. And why is he doing that? Because the most important thing to Joe Biden, it seems, is his climate agenda.
House Democrats now want the White House to declare a climate emergency, banning all drilling on federal lands. And White House officials remain focused on transitioning to green energy.
Under President Biden and Vice President Harris's leadership, we're pressing the accelerator to reach a zero emissions future sooner than most people thought.
But in Western Europe, which is much farther along in the transition to green energy, gasoline prices today are over $9 a gallon in some nations. That's probably not the kind of energy future most Americans want. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Well, this is all part of the climate change agenda. And regardless of whether you believe in that or you don't believe in that, if you wreck the economy and trying to achieve that, you haven't really achieved anything. And that's the path we're on. When you look at the high gas prices that we're all paying at the pump today, that's going to start translating into all prices for all goods, because everything depends on transportation to get it delivered to a store shelf or get it picked up from a store shelf. So these costs keep accumulating. That means inflation will keep rising. That means the Federal Reserve will increase interest rates, which will increase the cost of borrowing, and you're going to get into an inflationary spiral, because then wages naturally have to rise to meet all of that. And in that, you're going to have a decrease in economic activity, which isn't good for everyone. That is it's just going to be fundamental. That's not good for the federal government. It's not good for state government. It's not good for local government. It's not good for you and me. So in all of this, can we please, take a step back and say, what's really good and what's really the process moving forward to achieve alternative forms of energy? And instead of jacking up gas prices and hurting the oil and gas industry, wouldn't it be better to plow some federal money into developing the alternative energy so that we can get to a zero neutral and not crash the economy while we're at it? It just doesn't make any sense to me, but from the environmentalists, they seem to just love high gas prices because they think that's somehow making it better for the climate. And if you wreck the economy while you do that, you're not helping a thing.
In more than 150 years of biblical archaeology, not one thing has been discovered that disproves the Bible. You can learn how archaeology supports the stories of the Bible in CBN Films' new documentary, Written in Stone, Kings and Prophets. For your gift of any dollar amount, we'll send you this all-new DVD. You'll also get exclusive instant streaming access in 4K on the CBN Family app. All you have to do is go to cbn.com/writteninstone, or you can call us 1-800-700-7000. Gordon?
Well, let's go back in time for a very disturbing story, a very horrific story. Right in the heart of Richmond, just 3 blocks from the state capitol, stood one of the most infamous slave prisons in the South. Inside its walls, slaves were confined to tiny pens. They were shackled, given neither bed nor air, and fed putrid meat. Back then, the prison's official name was Lumpkin's Jail. Today, it's better known as the Devil's Half Acre.
Shockoe Bottom, along the James River, is one of Richmond, Virginia's oldest neighborhoods. It also lays claim to its darkest past. From 1830 to 1865, it served as one of the largest slave trading hubs in the South, second only to New Orleans. Over 300,000 people passed through here during a life in bondage. Virginia Delegate Dolores McQuinn has been working to memorialize the pathway they walked through the port, where the atrocities of enslavement were hidden away from polite society.
My first walk on the slave trail, I began to cry what people who lived at a different era, but I was connected to by DNA, had to live through.
The area contained numerous slave jails, holding pens for those waiting to be auctioned or carried away by their new owners. While the conditions in the jails were harsh, none compared to Lumpkin's Jail, also known as the Devil's Half Acre. Run by Robert Lumpkin, it was the jail where slave owners brought so-called disobedient or troublesome slaves to break them through whatever brutal means necessary.
Based on what I have read, Robert Lumpkin was a mean man. Robert Lumpkin was an evil person.
The slaves were crammed into small cells, shackled and covered in filth and stench, with no toilet or facilities and little food or water. Some were beaten. It was especially torturous for slaves whose owners felt they needed to be punished. An 1856 biography of a runaway slave, Anthony Burns, describes his time at Lumpkin's.
He cooped him up in the loft of the jail, where the air was stale, where he was shackled, It was filthy. He was given a starvation diet. He only got into the open air once in a while to show him to people, to humiliate him. He was there for 8 months.
In the end, though, Lumpkin's jail would no longer be a gateway into humiliation and slavery, but one where Black Americans would have access to a brighter future. It was after the Civil War. The newly ratified 13th Amendment ensured freedom to some 4 million enslaved people. At the forefront were abolitionists, many of whom were Christians, committed to living out the teachings of Jesus Christ.
They took the gospel seriously and said, Christ will make you free, and that stands for everybody. These people do deserve not just freedom, but they deserve equality.
And many believed equality would come through education. Generations of slaves had been forbidden to learn how to read or write.
Education immediately becomes a threat to the hierarchy. Enlightenment becomes a threat. Because if I can keep you ignorant, I can keep you in your place.
While many started a campaign to provide the basics, other groups, such as the American Baptist Home Mission Society, had an even loftier vision: to empower Black Americans to become leaders in society, especially in churches, through higher education.
Most people thought, okay, vocational education was okay, but the idea of training these newly freed people to be college professors, to be ministers, to head up seminaries, that was pretty radical.
And dangerous. As schools began cropping up, teachers and students experienced violence. Some schools were burned or vandalized. Still, they were not alone.
Christians who had a heart for these people who had suffered were willing to suffer alongside.
One of them was a 70-year-old Baptist minister named Dr. Nathaniel Culver. Sent by the American Baptist Home Mission Society, he came to Richmond in 1867, looking for a place to start a Black seminary. Finding a city tattered from the war, there were few options.
30 blocks of Richmond had been destroyed, and most of what was left was in the hands of white Southerners who were unsympathetic, to say the least. Dr. Culver apparently was preying on it a lot, and he met a group of congregants outside First African Baptist Church, told him of his plight, and a tall, fair-faced woman said that she had a place that he could rent very cheaply.
Her name? Mary Ann Lumpkin, former slave and widow of notorious slave jailer Robert Lumpkin. She was around 8 years old when Lumpkin bought her, and she would bear him 5 children in their 25 years together before he legally married her at the end of the war.
She was in a constant mode of surviving. There was no power of her own, but she survived it.
When Robert died in 1866, he left everything to Mary, including his infamous jail in Shockoe Bottom.
That quickly turned to the idea of turning good into evil, turning the devil's half-acre into what was rechristened by Dr. Culver, God's half-acre.
In its 3 years there, the school, known then as the Culver Institute, would graduate some 200 students, young men born into slavery, seizing a more hopeful future for themselves.
Authentic education thrusts you and calls you to a commitment to freedom and justice.
It's with that commitment the school moved forward into the future. It joined with another Black seminary to form Virginia Union University in 1899, not far from Lumpkin's jail. More than a century later, Virginia Union still stands, maintaining its tradition of excellence while bringing up generations of leaders to continue the fight for equality for all Americans. As for Lumpkin's jail, it was torn down in 1888, and its painful history was almost lost until activists and archaeologists excavated it in 2008. Delegate McQuinn is part of an effort to build a museum on the site.
You talk about the journey of African Americans in America. Many say, well, this is African American history, but this is Americans' history. We've got to tell the truth.
Just as people of faith stepped in to address the evils of slavery, Dr. Kinney says Christians today must continue that legacy, reaching out with the love of Christ to end racism.
I will put my life, my status, and my privilege at risk for the truth that I recognize in God and the principles of the land I love. That's for this nation to be healed.
To be healed, we need to understand our history, and that slave trail is part of our history. When the port switched from Williamsburg, from Newport News, all the way to Richmond, it became one of the major slave markets of the South. And that slave trail from the docks to Devil's Half Acre was a trail of tears, of unbelievable agony. That jail had a beating room, and people would be beaten literally to death in that room. It was a place where they broke people and they broke their spirits. But here's something amazing. The owner of that jail, you just can't explain these things. He buys one of the slaves, but ends up having children with her, then ends up marrying her. He sends the children and her to Pennsylvania at the outbreak of the Civil War because he didn't want his own children to be enslaved. And then after the war, they come back, he dies, and he leaves everything to them. And they say, let's turn this around. Let's take the Devil's Half Acre. Let's make it a place of education. And from that, Virginia Union came into being, one of the foremost African-American colleges in the nation. It's an incredible story of redemption. It's an incredible story of how God can work through the most difficult circumstances, what seems to be absolutely from the pit of hell, to say, okay, I can redeem even this. I can make something out of this. I can take beauty out of these ashes. I can do this. Let's learn this history. Let's put a monument there. Let's put a museum there. Let's remember what happened, and it wasn't that long ago. Let's remember that, but let's also remember how God is working. And here's the best news. He's still working today. We can still have racial reconciliation today. We can be neither Jew nor Greek, male or female, slave or free, because we're all one in Christ. That is good news, and let's proclaim that and proclaim liberty throughout the land.
Welcome back to Washington for the CBN News Break. The nation's first female top diplomat has died. Former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright was 84 years old. Born in Prague, Albright moved to the United States as a refugee in 1948. President Bill Clinton picked her to serve as Secretary of State in 1997. In 2012, President Obama awarded Albright the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Her family says she had cancer and she died surrounded by her loved ones. Well, North Korea is suspected of testing a long-range ballistic missile. Japan's prime minister told reporters the missile is believed to have landed near Japanese territorial waters. Speaking from the NATO meeting in Belgium, he condemned the test and called it, quote, an unforgivable recklessness. This is the latest in a series of tests that intelligence experts say are meant to force the United States to accept North Korea as a nuclear power. Well, you can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com.
Dina is a single mom to 5 children. To support her family, she runs a small grocery store. When the pandemic hit, people stopped shopping. That meant she had no money to restock her supplies and, even worse, no way to buy food for her children.
When COVID-19 hit Indonesia, 47-year-old Dina, who is a widow, told us her small grocery store was failing.
Before COVID hit, many people were buying from my shop. Then most of those people lost their job and stopped buying from me.
With less income, Dina could not restock her store. As the pandemic continued, she told us she worried about how she would feed her children. This is 7-year-old Ruth.
I remember asking Mom to buy me chicken. but she said she did not have any money.
During these challenging times, CBN's Orphans Promise provided help for Dina. On 2 separate occasions, we gave her food packs. We also helped her neighbors who were hard hit and without work. During our second visit to see Dina, we restocked her depleted grocery store.
Ada Indomie, ada kopi.
Orphans Promise gave me noodles, coffee, soap, even mosquito repellent to sell. When people saw I had those items, they returned to my shop to buy them.
I like to help Mom look after the store after school.
As the Indonesian economy continued to reopen, Dina said even more people than before are buying food and supplies from her.
I really thank God for everything He has done for us. I also want to thank the people who support Orphans Promise. May God continue to bless us all.
You know, one of the things that Orphans Promise does is strengthen families so that children don't have to go into orphanages because their parents can't afford to take care of them, to simply feed them. In the United States, we have safety nets for things like this, but in other countries, there is nothing. This is a single mom of 5 children, and you have kept that family together with your generosity and your compassion. Just want to say thank you. You know, when you give to CBN, you're giving to so many different outreaches that are touching so many different lives around the world. To become a 700 Club member, a partner with us, it's 65 cents a day, $20 a month. Most of us can afford to do that. We want to say thank you to those of you who are, but to those of you who haven't yet joined, what a great opportunity to make a difference in the lives of people you may never meet here. But you may meet them in another day, another time, in another place. And we say thank you, because with everything that we give, we bring the message of God's love. Be a part of that. You don't want to miss out on that opportunity to touch lives in a significant way. You can do that by calling our toll-free number. It's right there on your screen, 1-800-700-7000, or you can call cbn.com. When you do, not call them, email. Get online. The Power of the Holy Spirit. This is Pat's latest book, and we want it to be yours. I think you'll be touched by everything that he's written here. It's about the miraculous power of God, how to encourage that in your own life, and it's meant to be encouraged by all of us. So you call now, touch someone else's life, and we think our gift to you will touch your life as well. He was 11 years old when his father admitted that he'd had an affair, contracted HIV, and given it to his mother. Yannick McKee was still reeling from this shock when his mother dropped another bomb. The affair was not with another woman. It was with another man.
Because my father worked for Delta, it was nothing for us just to hop on a plane, fly to Hawaii, Bermuda, the Bahamas. We were like the Cosby family. People always referred to us as, you know, that quintessential perfect family.
Yannick Mackey grew up in a loving home with all the luxuries his father, an airline executive, could afford. Though not religious, his parents sent him to a Christian school where he heard the gospel for the first time.
I remember going home that night, getting into my room and kneeling at the side of my bed and telling Jesus that I wanted a relationship with him. And at 6 years old, I received Jesus Christ into my life.
Yannick continued to flourish, taking frequent trips with his family. But then his parents started going away on their own for weekends. Yannick was 11 when his father sat him and his sister down and explained the trips were to hospitals for experimental medical treatments.
When he told us that he had HIV, I didn't know what that was, but I certainly knew what no cure meant. It meant no more fancy trips. It meant no more fun and games, and eventually it would mean no more mom and dad. I can't really tell you how long I cried at that moment, but it was a while.
Yannick's father admitted to an affair with a woman, but a short time later, his mother told him the truth.
My mom looked at me and said, Yannick, it wasn't a woman. Your father's gay. I really didn't grasp what was happening. My father wasn't the man that I thought he was, because if he contracted a disease that they didn't have a cure for and then gave it to my mom my father was going to be guilty of murder.
Although he was angry at his father, Unique also blamed God.
In my mind, it was God's fault. I believe that God was in control. So you're gonna allow my dad to contract a deadly disease and then give it to an innocent person? Oh yeah, I was hot.
When Unique was 13, his father died of AIDS.
I remember my father dying, but me feeling like that was a consequence of his choice. And so why should I feel sorry when he's getting what he deserves?
Unique's mother died of AIDS 2 years later.
I loved Mom. I was a mother's boy, and I felt like she was innocent. And she died a slow death. And that ate at me, because if you had seen my mother, I mean, she was beautiful, healthy, young, brilliant, but AIDS ate away at her.
He and his sister were adopted by family friends. Devastated by the loss of his parents, Unique started using drugs.
It started with the wrong crowd. Hurt people attract hurt people. I began to hang around teenagers with problems, people who didn't have strong father figures, young men who like to do drugs and hang out and party, and so that's what we would do.
Unique soon began selling drugs, and when he went away to college, he discovered he could make a bigger profit, buying guns and selling them illegally. He and a friend started running guns to drug dealers in New York City.
I knew that I was wrong. I knew God was real. I would hurt myself to hurt him. It was almost like I was trying to get his attention some way, somehow, to get him to pay attention to me, to see if he cared, because I didn't know if he did.
Unique continued running guns for the next few years, but the guilt he felt for having put hundreds of them on the street began to weigh on him.
I remember one night praying, God, almost like I'm gonna give you a chance. If you want me to change, I'm gonna need your help, because I'm too deep in this to just stop.
A short time later, Unique was arrested when a gun buyer gave him up. He faced 5 years in prison.
I remember almost being happy. I wasn't angry with the police for doing their job. I got in that van and I went to sleep. And I remember thinking, you're answering my prayer. And they took me to a federal prison in Savannah.
While awaiting trial, Unique says he had an encounter with God.
I began to see that the situation I was in wasn't God's fault. It was my fault. I'm guilty of making the same detrimental decisions that my dad was. In a different way, all still sin. And it was at that moment I forgave him, because I realized I was just like him. I mean, I felt it literally, like a weight lift off of me. I was in prison, but I was free.
Once able to forgive his father, Unique rededicated his life to the Lord. Out on bond, he began attending church. One Sunday, he had a chance encounter with a prosecutor there who wanted to know more about him. Unique told her about losing his parents and returning to God after years of rebellion. Then, he had his day in court.
This is a big case. College students involved in gun trafficking. I mean, they want us in jail. Now, this is a federal prosecutor, and she defends me. I was guilty, but because of what she did for me, the judge showed me grace. She did such a good job. My attorney says, I acquiesced to the argument of the prosecution and sits down. I mean, it was amazing. It was God.
A charge was dropped, and instead of 5 years in prison, Unique was sentenced to 5 years probation. He began working with a prosecutor, teaching hundreds of at-risk kids to read. Today, he is married and has a family of his own, and he owes it all to the God who both forgives and restores.
We forgive because we realize if it wasn't for the grace of God, we could all be guilty of the grossest sin. I believe there's a direct correlation in the grace that I showed my father and the grace that was given to me You cannot believe you've been forgiven of an eternal debt of sin and not be willing to forgive someone who sins against you. And I experienced true forgiveness. And so when I felt that weight lift off of me, that was a weight not just for that moment, but a weight for the rest of my life.
You know, so often in our lives, we equate forgiveness with fairness. Does the person deserve to have me forgive them? Yannick said, and rightfully so, when that weight lifted off of me. That's why God asks us to forgive, so we can be free. He doesn't ask us to forgive because the other person deserves it, any more than you or I deserve God to forgive us. And yet forgiveness is such a picture of exactly what Jesus did for us when he went to the cross. While we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. It wasn't about whether we deserved it or not. It wasn't about whether it was fair or not. It was about the fact that God loves us, that he wants to have relationship with us. He wants to spend eternity with us. And not only does he forgive what it is that we've done that's been a huge offense to him, but he forgets it. The Bible says, as far as the east is from the west, and remembers it no more. You know, we can only do that for each other when we allow him to do that work in our hearts. Sometimes initially it's an act of obedience. I don't feel like doing it. It doesn't seem fair. The person doesn't deserve it, but God commands that if we want to be forgiven by him, we need to forgive others for the things they've done to us. And so I want to encourage you today, if you're struggling with forgiveness in your life, you need to know it will block heaven's blessings from you. It will block all kinds of things from your heart, from your mind, from your life. But the choice to forgive is yours. And with the help of the Holy Spirit in your heart, you can do that. No matter what's been done to you, ask God to move in you to that end. Be obedient and watch what happens in your heart and your life. If you're struggling with forgiveness, I want you to know we have a sheet we'd like to send to you called Forgiveness, God's Power in Your Life, and it's free. We'd love to send it to you. Our line is toll-free. It's 1-800-700-7000. Just say, could you send me that forgiveness sheet? We'll get it out to you absolutely right away. It's a key to God's blessing in your life. Don't miss it. Gordon?
Well, we leave you with this word on forgiveness from Matthew chapter 6, verse 14. If, this is conditional, if you forgive those who sin against you, your heavenly Father will forgive you. Realize it's part of the Lord's Prayer. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Walk in forgiveness today. For all of us here, God bless you. We'll see you again tomorrow.